Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. If you're new, welcome. We release a new episode every Wednesday. I'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Get that downloaded every Wednesday morning. And also share this with a friend on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And please rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders like you, trying to get better like us. And visit leadinghope.online, leadinghope.online to get updates, find out more about the Leading Hope community. You can ask questions, all that good stuff, and find show notes, everything else you would ever want. Today, we're in episode 226. Kevin, you've titled this Constructing Arguments.
Yeah, so this is kind of the second part in the series of that deliberately entering controversy from last week.
Gotcha.
So
it's not part two, but it is.
But yeah, kind of is.
Got it.
So last week we talked about deliberately entering controversy. We walked through 4 steps on it, and one of the most important steps was you have to find the thought line.
The thought line,
You
yes.
have to find the unique thing that works its way through. And so that's what kind of today is on constructing arguments and how do you make the best case possible that unites rather than divides.
Okay.
And I think that's an important thing on the I almost didn't want to title it Constructing Arguments, but that's really what the practice is.
Yeah.
Argument typically is viewed from the category of I'm arguing against you, and so I win.
Yeah.
And you lose, or I lose.
Yeah.
And you win.
Right.
And that's not what I'm after within this. What I'm really after is to say, how do you take an issue in which people are divided and not use it to unite them in terms of because I think most people think that's soft of we're divided and now we're united because we compromised about stuff that really matters. And now nothing that's really important is taking place. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking about it.
And that's not what this is. This is about finding the bigger thing in the midst of all of that still helps you move forward when other things are seeking to divide you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
So I just want to give people hey, this is I don't know how to say this any other way. This is one of the things I do best.
Yeah.
I naturally understand how to do this.
Yeah.
I've been doing it all my life.
Yeah.
And so these are just the pieces that I'm looking and working through when I'm attempting to make this happen.
Yeah. How did that start? You said I've been doing it all my life. Were you in second grade and Johnny had a lemonade stand and you walked over and told him why it would be better if he had it in a certain location and people would drive by and make
There's no date like that.
Okay.
But I can honestly say first off, I'm always fascinated.
I agree with you. I just want to know the history.
I'm always fascinated by controversy.
Got it.
And I've always been the person in the midst of controversy that if I can, I keep it from boiling over.
Yeah. Blessed is the peacemaker.
Yeah.
But you're not the peacemaker.
No one's ever said that about me.
But you kind of
But
are.
it really is.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm with you.
But everybody thinks the peacemaker is the let's not fight.
That's right.
Instead of
let's not have a we could have a theology lesson here, but that's a whole nother thing. But it's part of that.
People think peace is the result of people who don't like controversy. And I wholeheartedly believe that peace comes out of the right controversy for the right purpose.
That's so good. That's great.
So
that's thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become. I mean, that might be it right there. That's it. That's it. All right. Go ahead.
So things I want people to think that in our context for these that I'm pulling of that are real recently, name change, politics series are probably the biggest ones. I can go back throughout my history and give other examples of this that I remember. But just to kind of walk through 5 principles.
Okay.
First one is this: immersion predates writing.
Okay.
You have to be immersed in the cultures and the existing arguments that are taking place, the patterns of thinking, the issues that people have, before you're able to ever put anything down that is that thought line through it.
Yeah.
And so before the name change, we had talked about hiring an outside company to do all this demographic research.
Yeah.
And you were pressing me. You're like, you need to do that.
Yes.
And I was like, my first thought was, I don't know how, because it felt more structured than anything I've done.
Yeah.
But the realization was like, oh, I absolutely know how to do this. This is what I always do.
Right.
And I realized I could have never been the person to announce our name change how I did had I not immersed myself in the entire thing.
That's right.
Because I knew by that point in time, I knew how everyone was thinking.
Yes.
I knew every thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to say,
I think the important piece that you're saying, though, it's not I tried to make them think differently as I was gathering the information.
Correct.
I was trying to understand where they were coming from, and there were many different spots they were coming from.
and that is it. There's a way to take these principles and make them manipulative.
Yes.
And that is not what we're talking
Right.
about
No,
here.
this is really
I'm
important.
not saying like, I was going to say lawyer up, but I didn't mean that towards lawyers negatively. Stereotype of lawyers that people have of just like, oh, I heard this and now I can win the argument.
Yeah.
And to say immersion is about not just hearing what they think, but it's learning to value what they value.
Right. Right.
And so that's a, like, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
It's about learning to value what people value.
Yeah. That's great.
And you can't find that thought line through.
That's good. That's really
Cool.
good. Yes.
That's honestly, that's the majority of your time. So I've got 5 points.
Yeah.
Like that's 95% of your time
Yeah. Learn to do that really well.
is immersion.
Yeah.
Then the other things, as you're actually walking through the points that you're making, the argument that you're presenting on there. The first one is the second point on this. First one, as you're actually writing it, is I just wrote, my case is only as strong as my weakest argument. If I've got 4 points and 3 of them are strong, I have 3 points.
Yeah.
Because people do not hear, people who want to criticize it, they do not hear your strongest point. They pick apart your weakest point, and they believe your whole argument falls apart.
Yeah.
And so it's just this like really weird thing that I could go, like, let me make it more overt. Like, I could have 20 points for why we should take this step, and 19 of them are rock solid and everyone agrees. But if there's someone out there who disagrees with the idea and they find that 1 point that isn't rock solid, they tear the whole thing apart.
Yeah.
We see this take place in the debates every single time.
Yeah.
And someone will like rattle off 8 things and they may be right on 7 of the 8.
Yeah.
But the person just tears apart the one thing and everybody goes, well, I guess they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, yeah, that's the critic's job. But at the end of the day, I mean, people do that with on Sunday mornings and
Yep.
sermons, right?
Yep.
Everything you said, like you talked for 45 minutes.
Yep.
For 44 minutes, you were on, but that 1 minute,
Yep.
gotcha.
And it's not the last
Gotcha.
minute. It's like at minute like 28.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
But here.
But here, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and that's why you have to be. This is why this is important.
So I think because people, because they feel insecure about the position that they're presenting, they want to overload with more ideas, and you cannot present weak ideas.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It's good.
Now, here's the other side of that, and this is so important, is I am owning my weak points to diffuse them. I don't want someone else to bring up my weak points or the counter arguments. I'm owning that.
Yes.
So I'm saying on the front end, here's the issues within this. I did this with the name change. I did this with politics. I said, here's the reasons why we shouldn't change the name. Now, this is, again, like, you can view this as manipulative. I legitimately, like, I feel like I've heard from people. I've got clarity on our calling. And so I'm not saying, like, there's a massive difference between going into a situation and being convinced, being stubborn about what you want to happen, no matter what you hear.
Yeah.
And if that's your position, you can't do that. Let me say, if that's your posture, you can't do what I'm talking about here.
Right.
Because it's all manipulation and people will see straight through it.
Yeah.
So, but when I am completely open and to go, I am willing to change any viewpoint I have. Let me hear what you think. And I then present my case based upon the strong arguments. Then I have to be able to go, and here's the reasons why this shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I want to say it. I have to be the one to say it.
Right.
But why I still believe in the midst of it, we need to move forward or we need to take this step.
Good.
So politics series, this was really simple. It was like, hey, people would say, why on earth would we talk about politics? This is a bad idea. You're going to create controversy. It's already going to be controversy.
Yeah.
It's already going to be a distraction.
Right.
It has every single election. So that is, I'm taking the argument against what I'm doing and I'm utilizing it for where I believe we need to head.
That's good.
Good?
Yeah, good.
Fourth one is maybe the most unique. I just want to say, like, I see people violate point 2 and point 3 over and over again. Mm-hmm. I see them present 5 strong arguments and 1 weak one and then have no idea why people are tearing them apart. I see people, they almost want to do like a Wizard of Oz, pull the curtain back, like keep the curtain up.
Yeah.
In there, like, I don't want anyone to know that there's a counter argument against this.
Yeah.
And I go, people aren't dumb.
Yeah, no.
So, fourth idea. Never approach from head on. Now, this may sound weird, and I don't know if I'm going to explain this the best way, is to say, like, it's the beauty of the counterpunch, but in a debate, you can set up a counter. In a monologue, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
So, I never want to hit the thing that everybody thinks I'm going to hit.
It's good.
I have to work at it from an angle because people already have their set beliefs and their defenses are up.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of mental effort and energy to change my existing beliefs.
That's right.
So when I'm talking about politics, here's how this functions. When I'm talking about politics, I'm not talking about issues. Politics is about issues. I'm talking about priority.
Yeah.
Now, that's the angle that people aren't prepared for.
Right.
Is to say your priorities are out of line.
Right.
In how obsessed you are on this.
Right.
People want me to address this issue and this issue and this issue and this issue.
Right.
I won't. Everybody already believes what they believe.
Right.
And if I come at it at that angle, nothing's going to change.
Right.
This is what I try to do with sermon titles. Because if I say we're going to have a message on forgiveness, no one wants to think about forgiving. They've already, like, if I say we're going to talk about forgiveness today, and you've got someone in your life who you haven't forgiven, you have already constructed an argument in your head for why it shouldn't happen, and you've discounted my message before I've heard a thing.
Yeah.
So I have to find another angle around it so that, like, your defense that everybody always puts their defenses up somewhere. I want you to put your defenses up in the wrong spot so I can get at it from a different position.
Yeah, it's good. I would, you would here, if we could take this even a little bit deeper.
Go.
I don't want to put words, this is what I've seen. You would rather, for the very few that would say he won't say it, you would rather take that heat than actually risking the priority of what you're actually trying to say anyway.
Correct.
Right.
People
Does that make sense what I'm trying to get at? Like,
yep.
Because there's always going to be the few that just says, oh, then just come out and say it.
Yep.
Right? And you're saying, no, I can live with that criticism. For the majority of the people, I can move.
Yep.
By doing it around this way because everyone's already stuck in their thought, even the person that says, say it this way.
So let me give an example. I had a great conversation, and I really like this person.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
And it was, none of this is antagonistic.
What's her name? I'm just joking.
No.
I'm joking. No. I'm joking.
None of this was antagonistic.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They came up to me after week 1 of the politics series. They said, that was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
I really want you to address issues.
Yeah.
And I said, I won't.
Right.
And they're like, why wouldn't you? Because these issues.
Right.
And I just told them, like, real personally, I said, I agree with everything that you've said.
Right.
But if I come at it in a politics series, no one's mind is being changed.
Right.
Because they are already set.
Right.
And I am more convinced I am more committed to moving people forward than validating what people already believe.
Yeah. And exactly. And here's the aftermath of it that I get to see because of my proximity to response globally is that more people so the little bit of people you would have satisfied by saying something on an issue, very small, even though people think it's big. The loudest people are never the ones that are actually moving the dial.
Correct.
Right? It was the majority of them. We all need to think like that. It wasn't they need to think like that. It wasn't I need to think like that. It was all of us, including them, which I'll take.
Yep.
Like, I'll take that because that moves the needle. It moves, in our context, congregation. It moves thought process. It moves thinking. You're not going to change their mind on an issue. But you
Correct.
can change the way they think about it.
Correct. And here's the like, I'm sure there's a time and a place to say, here's where I stand on this.
Sure. Of course. It's not the beginning of a politics series when you
Well, I also want to say, like, I'm not a politician.
Right.
Like, it's not my role to be like, I'm trying to think through language that I'm comfortable with on this. Like, I don't think it's my role to like just give everyone, here's every single thing I believe.
Right.
I believe my role, responsibility, and the leader is to move us forward in the vision that God has called for us.
Right.
And so, in light of that, that's how I'm doing this.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense.
Cool.
Cool.
So that's I just think that's so massive is I see people, it's learning how to use different tools in your arsenal as a leader. And to say, like, man, for so many people, everything's a hammer. And it's just like they'll address something controversial and they'll just get up there. I watched pastors get killed about this during COVID and race riots. Is they got frustrated with what was happening on a multitude of different positions.
Yeah.
And they just walked up there and just kind of went, well, I'm sick of this. Here's what I think.
Yeah.
And half the people cheered and half the people booed and half the people were more committed and half the people left. And then they're like, I don't understand why they did that. I was right.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter if you were right.
The interesting thing about all that is that this is the hard part. Is when we do that, we only do it in certain segments of our life. We don't take that same harsh attitude towards an issue or people that agree differently than us, right? And then go home and tell our kids the same thing about how they're not doing well in school.
So so let's talk then.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Because the tendency is when frustration boils, we abdicate our role as a leader and we just want to tell it like it is, when the leader is meant to prioritize relationship and forward progress.
Right.
And the parents who do that, who just approach everything with a hammer,
That's right.
have horrible relationships with their kids and with their family.
That's it. And it works itself out there.
Yep.
At the end, it's like, wait a second, you use the same strategy because you just want to do it, and but most of the time they don't.
So then let me talk about this in other angles.
Yeah.
Let me go real quick through this though.
This is good.
Then is to say, like, so let me talk about with my kids. Is say when they lose is not when I talk to them about working harder. So they already know.
Right.
I don't have that conversation. I talk about losing gracefully. I talk about having a positive attitude. When they win, I talk to them about listening to their coach. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Like, you always have to learn how to have the other conversation, not the obvious conversation.
Right.
Because no one's open to the obvious conversation.
Right.
They are open to the other conversation.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're
So
saying. Which is how you construct the argument.
So you go, Kevin, why on earth would you do a politics series? Because it's already a distraction. What I really want people bought in on is the fact that Jesus' kingdom is eternal, and that's what our confidence and faith is in.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks issues. There's no need for me to talk about issues.
Right.
If I come in and talk about issues, half the people, I agree. Other half, I disagree. I haven't changed anyone's mind.
Right.
But I can if their defenses are down in another area.
That's great. That's great. You got
Last point.
You got one more. Yep.
Story is king.
Yes.
Defenses drop naturally within narratives. Now, I think people overuse story in different parts, but to say it as like part one of the politics series, I told the story of how the Nazis took over Germany / were elected in, and how the church got co-opted by the Nazi agenda.
Right.
As I naturally walk through that, people are able to see parallels, are able to see issues and problems. If I'm just coming out and saying, here's 10 things we need to be concerned about,
Right.
all of a sudden I've created enemies. We naturally immerse ourselves in stories, and we naturally either applaud or antagonize points.
Yeah, that's so good. I have tons of questions about that specifically, but we're out of time. Because I think there's a number of things that need to be said within the storytelling for creating the argument that can actually help people do the other things that need to be happening. But we don't have any time for that. And so, do you want to wrap this up?
No, you wrap it up.
I'll wrap it up. Here's the thing, man. I mean, don't do what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
Stop pretending like all you have to do is your playbook from everybody else on how they address these issues. Seek God first in all things, not to just be that, but he's going to provide you a way to talk about things that you've never talked about it before. And if you listen, you'll change not people's minds, but you'll start moving them in the direction they needed to be in the first place.
It's great.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you for joining us, taking time out of your day to become a better leader. That's good. If you haven't subscribed yet, I can tell you this. 20 minutes is not a long time a week to try to prepare yourself to become a better leader. I know it helps me every week. Being in this environment every week helps me become a better leader.
Accurate.
Even if I know some of the content or don't know some of the content, I still learn every week. So if you haven't subscribed, do that. Also, rate and review. We want to get this in the many hands of the leaders that are getting better like you and like us every week. And the way they do that is by subscribing. And if you haven't shared or told anybody about it, they won't know. So do that. And then also, we love hearing your stories. Send those to us, DM us, or visit leadinghope.online. We would love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it